For the first time since the Industrial Revolution, successive generations are not becoming wealthier than their parents. How is it that a world that is richer overall, producing generations that are poorer than the ones that preceded them? Is there some underlying cause to this? If there is there some way to reverse it? And if there isn't, does that mean that we can only expect every generation going forward to be poorer than the one that came before it from now on? Oh, and I suppose it's probably also worth asking, does this even matter? Since everyone is eventually going to die and pass down their wealth anyway.
A lot of questions. We want answers. Is it all the boomers' fault?
Yeah, it is. No.
So I think it's no surprise to any of us or anybody watching that millennials and Gen X are not doing as well as the baby boomers, right? Like we all see our parents and the older generation kind of have the house and the car and the lifestyle and meanwhile people in my generation are like struggling to make ends meet, like or like me having to take extreme measures. Like I had to move halfway around the world and then take crazy risks investing in real estate to get ahead of my peers. Like other people don't have those options necessarily. And like I know many people working 2, 3 jobs and they're still making ends meet, can't pay their rent or living paycheck to paycheck, and the boomers are kind of enjoying their retirement. When will it be our turn to make the rules? And the video goes on later to talk about the political aspect, how there's so many boomers in office. Like Pelosi just retired, I saw. Like finally, I thought she was out 10 years. She should have been out 25 years ago. Like
Yeah, that's the math.
All depends on parts of the world. So if you're talking about like the US, UK, West European countries, it's one story. If you're talking about East, some Asia countries, Middle East, it's so different, different conditions. And boomers, yes, we all have boomers, but some boomers, for instance, in Ukraine, our boomers, they didn't have democracy, they didn't vote, they didn't choose what to do. Everything was predicted.
everything was planned for the
Planned
life
for
of
you, like,
social
yeah,
planning. Yeah.
so you already know, okay, I will have work, I will have some place to live, not always the big place to live, but I will live. So I have work, maybe I have some type of medicine help if I need it, medical support, but you don't have choice, you don't have freedom, you cannot
Yeah.
travel, you cannot
Everything is fixed. Everything
explore.
is,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was everything was like you are in the wonderful zoo with a good condition.
Maybe that should be our title. Uh, I think it's valid because I was looking at Japan. There's demographics around China. China had the same problem. Their boomers did not participate in anything. But I think why this is important is that the American and Canadian boomers are the richest cohort in the history of humankind. They have more wealth than any other group in the history of humankind. That's a massive amount of wealth to have. And I think it's just not the money, it's their influence on policy. So no matter if you're in the
And
Ukraine,
culture.
China, and culture, and Japan, you're going to be influenced by the largest and wealthiest uh, group of people in the history of humankind. So they're unavoidable. They're going to impact everybody because you can see America right now is dictating policy through Donald Trump, who is a boomer, all over planet Earth with tariffs, political sway. He's launching attacks maybe on Venezuela. So we're not going to get into the politics of it, but you can't discount that this group is immensely influential. But I think the question for us is, given that they're so influential, is it the right influence for the generations that are coming behind them? And as the Gen X here, I got to tell you, it was horrible jumping into the market. When I was young and I was getting jobs, there were no jobs. There was just nothing. And interestingly enough, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, a lot of the richest men in the world are all Gen Xers who are entrepreneurs who really didn't inherit a world where you got a job, where you can stay there forever, you've got a pension plan. We had none of that. So they called us, I think, latchkey babies. We were just left alone, and you got to figure it out. And that's the intriguing part of this, right? The Gen Xers and people behind, we're a different type of breed. So
I
There
find
may
it
be hope.
interesting all the animus that is thrown toward millennials. Like I find it confusing because like I look at my peers and I see that my generation and probably even more so the next generation, like Gen Z and beyond. I don't even know Alpha. What do they call them now?
Alpha, yeah.
Right? And what is the next one going to be? Beta? I don't know. Like,
No, 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 that's something else.
um,
There's Gen
even
Y. I
but
don't know.
anyways, the millennials and then the generations that are younger are like so hardworking, like I like so like doing the jobs like I don't know. I had a roommate. This was 10 years ago, but he was a lot younger. It's like who else but our young generation is going to get on a bike and ride all the way in the rain in a thunderstorm to deliver you a Subway, it was Jimmy John's, sandwich to your door and take and accept a, $1 tip. Like no boomers are doing that. Like no, like they barely had pizza delivery men, back when, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
this is
pizza.
like our generation, like my 6-year-old knows how to use an iPad. People have more skills now than ever, more opportunities now than ever, and are valued less than ever. I just don't get the hate toward the millennials and Gen Zers coming from the baby boomers. I read an article was talking about how boomers are considered, materialistic and selfish. And it's like, that's kind of what they call millennials. And it's like, you're just projecting onto us. Like, you guys ruined the planet. You guys did all this global warming and put plastic in all our food and start all these war. Okay, I know the wars have calmed down since the 20th century, but I don't blame that on you. I blame that.
Boomers invented plastic. They start
Right?
using it. It was the
Yeah.
like 50s, 60s. They've like spread it around the world. Oh my
Yeah.
God, plastic
And
bottle. And
now you eat like a plastic bottle a year or whatever the stat is.
Right. Yeah, I
so,
don't. I think. Go ahead, Lena. Sorry.
uh, in my opinion, for millennials, it's like more opportunities. A good example, Bezos, Elon Musk. They use this opportunity. They catch it and follow the dream. They found the way how to, oh my God, I have an idea. And millennials has all tools, especially in the US and Canada, you have all tools and you can say, oh, I want to do it, and you can do it. You just need to be very like resilient, follow your dream, persistent. Yeah, it could be 3 jobs, but you can do it, you can get it. Boomers, I think they have more um, conditions which cannot give you the internet ability, like Google it something to find teams around the world, to find suppliers around the world. You just near you, like my city, my country. Okay, what else can I do? So unlimited opportunities for millennials.
I
And
think.
yeah, and to back to boomers and a lot of houses and things they didn't have it, but then they can do it and get it. They just buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. The next generation after millennials, Zoomers, they don't need. They switch, they change, they more flexible. They don't want to settle. They just need to travel around more. Millennials, something in between. Some of them, I want to settle down. I want to have a house. I want to have a family. Another one, I know, I want to be a traveler and enjoy my life.
David Willett's small cohort theory probably omits, or at least doesn't emphasise, one important detail that gave baby boomers another advantage over successive generations. And no, it's not simply that they were able to buy houses when they were cheap, certainly that didn't hurt, but it's more a symptom of a bigger issue. They were a big cohort in a small world. They had all of the voting power and hardly any of the competition. In the 1950s and 1960s, the global population was roughly a third of what it is today.
I want to talk a little bit about housing, because housing is a huge challenge, in North America for millennials and everybody beyond boomers. But I think the other thing around housing is the other metric in housing, which is interest rates. So, in America right now, whenever inflation gets out of control, or how the Federal Reserve monitors or levers the economy, is to move interest rates. And the whole thinking is, things are too expensive out there, so we're going to increase interest rates to make sure people save more, that loans are more expensive, that we pull money out of the market. And, they expect that to impact inflation. But I found it really interesting is that the number one asset that should be impacted by interest rate are homes. But the number one asset for baby boomers are their homes, and they don't borrow money. So you're applying this type of lever,
Mm.
interest rates, to impact the economy, but the people who are spending the most, which are baby boomers, on travel, medical, they're not impacted because their homes are already paid. So who does it impact? It impacts millennials, first-time home buyers, everybody else, which is counterintuitive. Like, why would you
Renters.
do that? Renters. And that's why you're seeing this weird spillover when they increase interest rates, hoping to do something with the economy. But the people who control the most wealth, I think they control 40% of the financial wealth, I think, or more, boomers. They're not impacted. In fact, when interest rates go up, boomers make more money because now their GICs, their savings account, all of that makes more money. And it's so strange that they have a policy to do something, but the people who are actually causing inflation, older people, they're not impacted at all. They just benefit from it. So like, why would they do that? And then that's why people can't buy homes. It's just they're too expensive and interest is too high.
I agree with everything you said, except for that it's strange. It's not strange because they're the ones making the policy. So when you
Correct.
make the rules, don't be surprised that the rules benefit you in this bizarre way, right?
Exactly. And you mentioned, in the House in the U.S., Donald Trump's 79, Nancy Pelosi, the opposition, whatever, is 84, Joe Biden was 80, Chuck Schumer, they're all aged out boomers, right? Still controlling policy. But the question was funny because the boomers came from the 1960s. The whole free love, free drugs, everybody loves you. All those they were marching for civil rights. They're the same people now who are changing their policies, right? Who are not about free love, not about free
No,
money, not
free
about
market.
like no free market. When did that change? And there's another book. I don't know if you guys know. It was a Canadian guy, a professor. He went to Harvard. His name is David Foote, and he wrote this thing called A Boom, Bust, and Echo, which was an amazing thing. And he said it's not about economics; it's about demographics. So what he kind of pointed out is if you envision demographics as a python swallowing a basketball, and as the ball moves through the python, that's where all policy starts to fall. So if the ball are the boomers in the 1980s, it was all about affordable housing, and as it moved through again, all about the stock market because they wanted returns on the stock market. Now it's moving through again. It's about retirement and on GICs, and so it keeps moving and policy moves with it because they're so massive. And that's why we're having all these disconnect between the marketplace right now.
The article we were looking
Yeah.
at earlier this week, Generation Can't Let Go, Baby Boomers Still Working and Not Selling Homes, mentioned that Reagan was 69 when he became president in
Right.
1980. And that was like, oh my God, he's so
That was
old.
old.
And
Yeah, I
and it
remember.
mentioned like today he'd be considered a young,
Yep.
whippersnapper. Like,
Yeah.
I can say about age, and as an example, Scandinavian countries. And of course, wonderful artificial intelligence helps me. And for instance, in Norway, the average age of member of parliament is around 46.
Yay.
46! It's millennials. Also, what else? All of the eligible voters, 18. So Sweden, also Sweden, Norway, Denmark. So they all, Finland. Remember the wonderful Prime Minister of Finland? She's also like millennial, and they are successful. Countries is successful. The good rate every day from both sides. So, in my opinion, we should like follow that direction and
yeah.
follow this example, not like boomers who just create rules for their benefits and everything. So
You you
yeah,
you want to force their retirement. You want to have an age limit.
They're doing that in Kuwait.
they
You
deserve to
know,
be retired and enjoy their life on the bench.
They shouldn't vote anymore.
2 points. One, they're doing that in Kuwait. That they're forcing people to retire at 55 in certain sectors and here
Mhm.
and there. It's political, but like they get great benefits. But like it's like sit down. Other people need to like step up. My second point: when did we go to the moon? When did humanity achieve? Who was president when we went to the moon?
And
Who, Kennedy?
for what you need to
Somebody
get
that
to
was
the moon?
under 40. Like we
Yeah.
need fresh blood in there, you know?
Fresh
Yeah,
blood.
it's an interesting thing because in order to change the rules, they have to vote to change the rules, but they're not going to vote to
They're
change
not
the
going to
rules.
vote themselves
They're not
out
gonna,
because it's too
no,
cushy. It's
Yeah,
too
it's they've
cushy.
got it. Well, you're talking about boomers and what I got is that yeah, we're talking about the millennials being successful and taking three jobs. The problem is money doesn't ever disappear. Money just moves. And boomers are sitting with the massive money and it's not going anywhere. It's just staying there. Of course, you got to have three jobs because the boomers are not contributing back to the economy. They're not producing jobs. They're just spending money.
Yeah.
And of course, that's why you're seeing all these people with three jobs and, all these new technologies that came out. I always argued Airbnb its rise of Airbnb is a function of people can't get cottages. They can't buy things anymore. I see that in Canada where I own an Airbnb in a cottage area and the boomers there hate it. They don't want anybody there. And I'm thinking, well, millennials and Gen X can't afford to buy your $1 million cottage, so they have to visit using Airbnb, but they hate it. And they have now policies around Airbnb. You can't have it licensed. You can't have people here. And it's wild. And I'm thinking, the amount of jobs, the net effect of an Airbnb, which is to restaurants and tax dollars, over offsets whatever negative impact it has or externalities it has. But the boomers hate it,